All right, Team Ancient Tomb, we have Craig Johnson on a mono red prison. So this, of course, is our Ancient Tomb City of Traders deck. 18 lands, powering out cards. Of course, you expect Chalice of the Void. On top of that, Magus of the Moon, Blood Moon, Goblin Rabblemaster, and Legion War Boss are the big plays you should expect.
Give me Brainstormer, give me Death.
Big thing, I know mono red is a die roll style deck, so Marshall looks like he's won the die roll for the first game.
Big favorite.
Yeah. So leads out on Thoughtseize. We get a look at the deck. So City of Traders and a Mountain. So 3 mana on turn 2. We see
a Chrome Box hiding
Chrome Box. It was 3 mana on turn 1. So Fiery Confluence, Blood Moon, Trinisphere, and Hazaret the Fervent. Now Marshall actually drew his one of Basic Swamp in the opener, which plays here.
Yeah, it ends up being a big deal just because you end up not getting trapped under Blood Moon as frequently if you actually have basics that let you play the game. These Grixis Phoenix decks end up living off of their hand disruption like we're seeing here, Dark Ritual into Buried Alive, those sorts of plays that let them crank out their Arclight Phoenixes. So the things that he's looking to take with his Thoughtseize are probably going to be close to just the Blood Moon or the Trinisphere because those are the biggest, they're the most immediate threats.
Yeah, now when I see a deck that's Arclight Phoenix that wants me to cast 3 spells in a turn, I have to say the card Trinisphere seems pretty threatening.
Well, you can Dark Ritual for 3 mana.
Okay.
Stay with me.
All right.
And then you can spend that 3 mana on a Dark Ritual.
All right.
We're almost done. Almost. And then
I think I know where this is
Buried
going.
Alive.
Wow. It's just, this card's not even good in the matchup. So rather than taking a payoff, it looks like Marshall buys himself an extra turn. He takes the Chrome Mox from Craig's hand to deny that turn 1 Trinisphere or turn 1 Blood Moon.
Right, and the type of thing that we'll likely be seeing out of him at this point is just a bunch of Arclight Phoenixes on turn 2, and he just wants to ensure that he gets to do that and say, you know what, if I can't cast any more spells after my second turn, but I have 3 Arclight Phoenixes in play, who cares?
Fetch down to 17 here for Marshall. Yeah, Craig just let out from the mountain. Of course, City of Traders means you don't want to start on that land, so you prefer to keep it in play as long as possible. And you see Marshall going to go get that second basic. I believe those are his only basic lands in the deck.
Right, and this is the way that Marshall kind of just gets to say, you know what, resolve your Blood Moon. He's not literally Thoughtseizing it away, but he is reducing its efficacy to a point where it's not really worth a card out of from Johnson.
A Ponder from Marshall. And I will say for Team Ancient Tomb, I'll accept City of Traders. That also counts.
You know, and you know what? I'm not going to forgive you for that one. We're going to have to work on this over the weekend. We'll bring it up again, but for now, I'm holding it against you.
You know, even Lands is starting to play some Ancient Tombs. They know what's up. Whoa, whoa. So we have so after Ponder, it's Ponder, Dark Ritual, Buried Alive. This is the explosive part of the Grixis Phoenix deck. It's how it competes with non-interactive decks like Mono Red. So on turn 2, it is 3 Arclight Phoenix into play.
Flap, flap, flap.
Yeah, flat attacking in for 9. That's a way to beat Trinispheres if you make the Phoenixes first.
Yeah, exactly. You know, what do you do here? Play a Trinisphere and go, ha, you can't cast any more spells. I might be dead next turn, but you know, I got this moral victory, so that's cool.
I'm looking at Craig's hand, or rather deck list. He doesn't have anything like Ensnaring Bridge. He's got 2 Fiery Confluence, and one of them's in his hand. That's going to help. Yeah, that actually can clean up the Phoenixes.
Right, and this actually puts him in a spot where he can't develop something like Trinisphere because one of the outs that he's drawing towards is another copy of Chrome Mox. He's missing a second red source in order to cast the Fiery Confluences here, and even that only buys him some time.
So because he made Rabblemaster instead of Blood Moon, you're thinking he doesn't have another mountain in his hand?
Correct.
Right,
because even then you need the fast mana. You need your City of Traders to make 2 mana, which Blood Moon would turn off.
Right. I mean Trinisphere. He could,
either one. Okay. They both make it to where he can't Fiery Confluence next turn, which is a death sentence.
Yeah, it feels like the board he wants to set up for would be a Trinisphere in play and the Phoenixes in the graveyard, if he can get there. Right. Now he's down to 2. He's got only 1 turn to do it.
And even then it wipes up his Rabblemaster. Johnson's just in a really rough spot here.
Yeah, he needs the mana. Let's see if he can do that to start. He did not draw a mountain last turn. He has, it looks like, another City of Traders, but that's not a second red source. So here's 3 mana on City of Traders, brings him up to 5. But you can't cast that Fiery Confluence with only single red.
Yeah.
So we're gonna, yeah, it looks nice enough, but I don't think this works.
Yeah, this is close, but
Yeah, you see the players looking at it and say, wait a second.
oh wait.
Yeah, those are still there.
All right, so he has red, colorless,
Red and 4. Yeah, red
in the pool.
and goes to attack, which means the mana's gone, which means he's going to die to these Arclight Phoenix.
We have a word for that. It is beats.
It is. Game 1 goes to Grixis Phoenix and Marshall Arthur's. And really, to me, a showcase of why this deck did so well in Baltimore. It's a fair style deck in a lot of ways. It's playing Grixis cards, but then you see in this matchup, he was able to beat these turn 2 giant plays by just racing them, by making Arclight Phoenix.
Right, so a lot of what you see these decks doing is they play their turn 1 piece of disruption, either a Daze out of some of the more traditional blue decks or a Thoughtseize, and then they develop a threat in the vein of Gurmag Angler or Tarmogoyf that starts applying pressure. In this case, it's just 3 Snare Thopters. So we end up seeing, you know, the Thoughtseize knock you off balance a bit, and then there's half your life total. Good luck.
All right, well, let's look at the sideboards here. I do want to start on Craig Johnson's side. So a lot of times you'll see in mono red, they changed the Haymaker style cards that they play, as a lot of them in the main deck aren't good in every matchup. So he has Scab Clan Berserker, a Braid and Snaring Bridge, Sulfur Elemental, another Fiery Confluence, and a 1 copy of Karn, Scion of Urza. He also has 4 copies of Leyline of the Void, a card that he can't cast, but can put in against graveyard decks, which may qualify here.
Yeah, so the thing that we're going to be seeing here is it comes down to if Johnson thinks he can beat the quote-unquote normal game plan, and if he puts Marshall on having something like Monastery Mentor in his deck, which we're seeing out of some variants of the Phoenix strategy where Leyline's a little bit embarrassing, but without that plan to swerve into, the Leyline of the Void ends up being a lot stronger just because it turns off Arclight Phoenix, or let me rephrase, the busted Arclight Phoenixes.
Right.
And then the transform on the Jace. So the Jace is something that is a little less likely to be on Johnson's radar.
So what do you think, are the prison cards that matter? I kind of mentioned in game 1 that I wanted Craig to hide behind a Trinisphere to stop Arclight Phoenix. You know,
right.
If things are going his way, what are the cards that will be in play?
So the things that are good is if as silly as this sounds, if Johnson had been on the play that game, he would have won very easily.
Right. That makes sense. It's often true for this deck.
Ironically, a lot of the cards that were in his hand were great, but the fact that he started out on the back foot a little bit meant that he couldn't break serve.
Right.
In a way that mattered. As you know, silly as that might sound, without Chrome Mox being able to put him up to 3 mana on the first turn, Arthur's just kind of got to do what he wanted, and prison cards are only good if you actually preempt what your opponent is doing.
Right. So out of the board, we might see maybe some Leylines, but not much. I don't mind the Ensnaring Bridge.
Yeah, Ensnaring Bridge is fine. It is something. The big issue is nothing that Arthur's is attacking with is big.
Right.
So emptying your hand could end up being a little bit of an issue.
He didn't get down to 2 cards there. He actually couldn't have stopped an Arclight Phoenix.
Exactly. And that's what it takes to stop the smaller things. What you're seeing Ensnaring Bridge for is anything that's maybe trying to kill you with like a Reality Smasher or Emrakul the Aeon's Torn, Gristlebrand, the really big heavy hitters of the format.
So next weekend, just 1 week away, is at Star City Games, the Regional Championships. These are the Season 1 championships here, so bring out your best Modern decks. I know I'm pretty excited about it. Now, first of all, if you haven't signed up yet, you're going to want to sign up now at places all around the country. The first 200 players to sign up receive a copy of an exclusive playmat and tokens for each location. Now, everybody gets the tokens, though. You get the 4/4 Flying Angel token, and on top of that, you get Andrew Jessup's Invitational winning token. That is the Monarch token, one of my favorite tokens here that we've had on the tour in quite a while.
Those are both tokens that I just love. You know, this is you know, break the fourth wall a little bit. I love that dress, to be honest, and that is, oh, it's so sparkly and pretty. But the Andrew Jessup token, I don't want to pick favorites or anything. I'm picking favorites, but this is one of the best invitational tokens that we've ever had. It's just the flavor is there, the attitude is there, and honestly, that looks pretty close to a photograph of the guy, right?
I can't.
I love it. I love it. Oof.
So now you're not just winning tokens, there's also prizes to be won. SCG points to help you get to that invitational and earn buys here on the SCG Tour are given out to everyone playing, additional points for the top 64. Cash prizes to the top 32, including a nice $1,200 to the winner of the event. And anyone making the top 8 at regionals gets an invite to SCG Con in June. All those are given away, and you can find a location. We have 12 different regionals. You can see them kind of here on your screen all around the country, so you can find one near you. And if you want to sign up, we have links to those individual locations and their signups at starcitygames.com/regionals. Remember, that's just 1 week away.
Go.starcitygames.com/regionals, Matthias. It's about branding.
I bet if you just type it in without any of them, it might, you know. I never type in www anymore.
Well, yeah, you don't do that one, but you got to type go. Do you think go is the same thing as www? HTTP
// Yeah, it's not an it's not an FTP. Come on now.
Go to starcitygames.com/regionals.
All right, that'll work.
Say it 3 times really fast.
Sideboards have come in. You can check those out on Cardboard Live on your screen here. One card of the sideboard we talked about, Leyline of the Void for Craig Johnson, and personal favorite card, that's an Ancient Tomb into play, turn 1.
Wow, and you know, it did so much.
Oh, you just wait.
Oh, it is.
Just wait. It's going to make so much mana. It's going to make an extra mana.
2 at a time, yeah. This is nice. It didn't make any mana this turn, so that by turn 2, it will have made 2 mana.
Yeah.
For 2 life, that's just a good rate.
Well, maybe. He's about to be Thought Seized. We'll see if he actually has a spell to cast. Looks like Mountain, City of Traders, Pia and Kiran Nalar, and Legion War Boss from Craig Johnson.
All right, this is the formula, right? You have your single prison card, and then you have something that closes the game quickly.
Yeah, it really puts pressure, I think, on Leyline of the Void to be a prison card.
Well, when you put it that way. So basically the thing that we're seeing here, last game we saw Arthurs just get to do his thing before Johnson actually did anything that mattered that stopped Arthur's game plan before he could develop that Blood Moon, that Trinisphere.
Right.
And Leyline of the Void, in a lot of cases, it's not going to stop Arthurs from playing Magic, but it turns off his, quote, I win draws.
Right.
And so it isn't a great thing here because he doesn't have one of those prison cards to back it up. But you can't really throw back a hand that turns off the I win draws and then has 2 threats. So it's not literally Thought Seize proof. But Johnson does still get to play Magic through a hand disruption spell.
Craig draws into a big old fistful of mana. Another Ancient Tomb picked up there. Unlike the Eldrazi decks, his deck doesn't scale into mana very well. Once he gets to about 5 mana, that's where the fun stops.
Well, Hazoret the Fervent can throw lands.
That's true. He has the one of Hazoret. Marshall Arthur's no Blood Moon on the table, so he's going to go ahead and fetch up that Volcanic Island.
Got to give some style points for the Black Border Volk.
Yeah, those are beautiful. Dark Ritual, and he'll just ritual out Arclight Phoenix attacking for 3 damage. Yeah. I mean, with Leyline of the Void in play, it's not doing much else.
Look, Snare Thopter gets it done.
Chandra, Torch of Defiance, the draw for Craig. That's a pretty good one here.
Oh, that card is incredible right here.
And remember, though it's a Grixis deck, there aren't cards like Daze or Force of Will in the Grixis Phoenix deck.
Oh, look, we have Arclight Phoenix up on the screen here. It's the other side. It's a modal spell.
Here is Chandra, Torch of Defiance, -3, shoots down the Phoenix, and that goes off into exile as Leyline of the Void is in play. Craig gets to keep Chandra around. Now, another Snare Thopter could really mess this one up if Marshall rituals into one.
That was just kind of what Johnson in a way is if he wanted to play the Chandra and the Pia and Kiran Nalar. And Johnson just kind of wants time in this situation, and you would develop the Pia and Kiran if you wanted to race a little bit better, since next turn you could Chandra minus crash in for 4.
Right.
But if all you're fighting for is time, getting extra Planeswalker activations and keeping Arthur's honestly just off the battlefield is going to be better.
Jace Vryn's Prodigy, San Diego Comic-Con one. Those are, so we'll get one on the screen that's a little more legible here. 0-2.
Arthur's always about the style points, though.
Now, I actually have an interesting line here at that PN Kieran. Chandra has a mana ability, and if Craig really wants to take care of that O2, he actually could shoot it down this turn.
That is saucy.
City of Traders from Craig. Looks like, yeah, Craig's options here are Goblin Rabblemaster, PN Kieran Nalar, and he also can plus Chandra to exile a card, but it looks like he is going to make mana.
Yeah, I'm pretty interested in just playing both your threats. Who cares if Arthur's loots?
He's going to cast PN Kieran using 2 mana from Chandra and the City of Traders. Now he can choose between Legion Warboss and throwing a Thopter. So I play both, and he will just go for playing both threats.
This line's great. Johnson is at the point where he's able to get out further ahead than Arthur's on the battlefield.
Right.
Then Arthur's can catch up to without one of his busted draws, quote-unquote busted draws. But now he's going, all right, time to slam the door shut before Arthur's can rebuild.
Yeah, and Jace's transform clause is when the loot happens, there have to be enough cards in the graveyard for Jace to transform, which of course is impossible here. So it's just a looter.
Right. It's a tall order for sure. Arthur's is no slouch, though. At this point, he's kind of just trying to think, all right, what does the game I win look like? How do I get from here to there?
Brainstorm from Marshall. He has, looks like, another Brainstorm. He has a copy of a Braid. He's boarded those in to answer lock pieces. Now, in a pinch, they can shoot down something like Goblin Rabblemaster, but there's a lot he has to deal with here.
Right, and there's even a point where, those 1/1 tokens may seem insignificant, but they do attack. And eventually Arthur's is going to have to deal with those things. Right now, there are 3 things that Marshall just really needs to answer. You can maybe get away with not doing anything about this PN Kieran for a few turns, but Rabblemaster will kill you, Chandra will kill you, and the door is closing on being able to answer those in time.
So he's going to start by Lightning Bolt, targeting Chandra Torch Defiance. Gets the Planeswalker off the board. A Braden is in his hand. If he wants to answer Rabblemaster, the time is now.
You have to.
And he has to, so that'll be the play. But it does leave 5 power worth of attackers in play for Craig. And don't forget about that ability of PN Kieran to throw Thopters.
Well, that's a fine card off the top of the library.
How about another Chandra? And Marshall just picks up the cards. He was barely able to answer the first one. Certainly not going to be able to answer the second.
Yeah, at that point, Johnson doesn't even have to roll down anymore and can just try to get Chandra up to ultimate range, drawing 2 cards a turn.
It was unclear if Marshall could beat the board as it was.
Right.
And certainly with Chandra, it wasn't going to happen.
Exactly. Arthur's was just too far behind on the battlefield, and without using his graveyard, there aren't really any sources of card advantage in his deck. So he was going to take at least 5 cards to answer all the resources on the table, which is 5 turns of taking damage, and that's death. You will die. He would have died before then.
All right, Marshall Arthurs now gets a chance. We'll look at his sideboard. We hadn't done that previously. A lot of the cards in his sideboard are fighting against combo-style decks. So 4 copies of Silent Gravestone is the graveyard hate he's gone for, because he can't actually... Now, it's interesting. What do you make of that over something like Leyline of the Void in his deck?
So one of the things that Silent Gravestone is able to do is it can turn off things like Surgical Extraction.
Okay.
It gives the things in your graveyard Shroud.
Right. Cards in graveyard. It's cards in graveyards can't be targeted, right?
Exactly. So you aren't even necessarily using it for the activated ability. You're using it as a protection spell for your Arclight Phoenixes.
Okay.
But in this particular instance, all he's probably looking to do is just bring in this Echoing Truth to tag something like Leyline of the Void, since Johnson has no way to actually put it back on the battlefield once it's put back into his hand. And it has the luxury of answering multiple copies of it if Johnson thinks that redundancy is going to help him a lot. And then other than that and a Braid, nothing else here is really doing a whole lot. This Arclight Phoenix deck tends to match up pretty well against the fair decks of the format, just by virtue of having recursive
Arclight
threats.
Phoenix, yeah.
Exactly. You just got to spin your wheels with these cantrips, and you're going to get free 3/2s for your trouble.
So Silent Gravestones, now there's not targeted removal, it's Leyline, so he's not going to try to protect his Phoenixes with those. His other cards are Echoing Truth, Surgical Extraction, Grim Lavamancer, a Braid, and Blood Moon. We saw it in a Braid in already last game. So I imagine those are boarded in. Do you think anything else here has come in?
Just the Echoing Truths, really. There's something that can answer some lock pieces in a way that just makes them not good enough for a turn. You know, we saw during game 1 where Arthur's had a 1-turn window to put his Phoenixes onto the battlefield, and then Trinisphere and Blood Moon didn't matter anymore. So if you have a situation where you just Echoing Truth a Trinisphere on Johnson's end step, put 3 birds into play, the game could end on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Those Leyline of the Voids can be in play for most turns, and end step Echoing Truth, untap, do something certainly is good enough here.
Exactly. Other than Jace Friend's Prodigy, nothing in Arthur's deck really cares about the quantity of cards in the graveyard. So everything getting exiled for the first few turns is not something that Arthur's is worried too much about.
So back on the play is Marshall Arthur's the player on the going first, has won both games so far. Get a chance to look at Craig Johnson's hand. I love it. We see Ancient 2-Man Simian Spirit Guide. I'm pretty about this.
Why?
Look at that.
Why are you about this?
Oh, look, he's just going to get to do something awesome.
No, he
right
is
away.
Not. It looks like Arthur's kept. Do you think someone in the Thoughtseize Cabal Therapy deck is going to keep on 7 and you actually care what's in the other person's opening hand?
You never know.
I mean, I guess it could be 2 Spirit Guides, 2 Ancient Tombs, and 2 Trinispheres, and then whatever card you get.
Get dunked.
Nice Thoughtseize idiot.
Hey, look, you're going to get Trinisphere. That's what that sounds like. I think, but here, you missed the last card. The last card in that hand should be a Chandra Torch of Defiance or something.
Oh my gosh, no, it has to be Rabble Master.
Right, because I guess there's no red mana. Yeah, double red's a little hard.
Exactly.
How about Hazaret as the last card? There we go. That's a good one.
I mean, that card kind of just needs the second red if you need another mana source anyway.
Hazaret doesn't need a second red.
Not literally, but she costs 4. And you play more mountains than other lands, so if you need to find...
But we had 2 Ancient Tombs in the one you talked about, right?
Matthias, you're so right.
Yeah.
You're so right, and I'm so wrong.
Looks like a mulligan to 6 from Craig. He had the 3 mana on turn 1, but he may not have had a payoff card.
Right, and the issue there is once you exile your Spirit Guide, if your only land is something like City of Traders, you can end up in spots where you just don't get to play the game. You get to play 2 spells, and then you're at the mercy of the top of your library.
Well, he's kept on 6. Top card is Chrome Mox. Oftentimes on mulligans, you can't afford to put that card on top.
Yeah, and the awkward thing is you kind of just have to keep some hands that barely function a good chunk of the time because you know you're playing against a Thoughtseize deck.
Yeah, I do think he has the 3 mana. Looks like he has one of those colorless lands. Well, he has Mountain Lotus Petal. He may not actually have an Ancient Tomb.
Yeah, I think he has Chrome Mox Lotus Petal land, and then just a Chalice is the lock piece.
Chrome Mox Lotus Petal land. When I see that on a 6-card hand, I think, well, that's all the cards in my opener. Hey. I sure hope it does something. Wow, and then they always have Thoughtseize. That's the rudest. Here's Chalice of the Void, Chandra Torch of Defiance, 1 land, Pian Kiran Nalar, and then the 2 mana artifacts.
Johnson, I respect the slow roll there. Here's the lock piece. Here's the land. Here's the threat. Here's the other threat. All right, yeah, I had 2 lands. I got 2 fast mana. You got me. You got me.
It's unreasonable that you can Thoughtseize his lands. That's just wow.
It's unreasonable?
Unreasonable. It's reasonably unreasonable. As opposed to unreasonably unreasonable. It's reasonably unreasonable.
They can't see. We're caught on the match right now. They can't see me just gawking at you.
You can't Thoughtseize the lands. You can Thoughtseize the Mox, which is a lot like a land here. How do you attack this? Chalice of the Void is, right, if you don't take Chalice, you're going to get Chaliced.
Right, so it comes down to the texture of Arthur's hand, and if he has something like Echoing Truth, for example, then or an Abrade, then he might think that Chalice isn't as big of a deal.
Yeah, so the first thing I think is if he can beat Chalice of the Void on 1.
Right, but the fact that Arthur's doesn't have very much counter magic means things like Chandra are actually pretty strong against him if he doesn't have one of his Phoenix draws.
Turns out he does not, so he takes the Chalice. Now, of course, if Craig... I was going to say if Craig draws any lock piece, he'll be able to cast it, and I guess that... He could have even cast a 3-mana one, but here's Chalice of the Void anyway. It's just happening.
This is...
Nice. I always like it when you draw the card they Thoughtseize.
At the risk of sounding rude, This is how you play Mono Red Prison.
There we
This
go.
is how you become an incredible prison pilot.
Now, to be fair, it wasn't just the Chalice. Because he had Chromox Lotus Petal Mountain, there were a lot of spells, both 2 and 3 mana, that he could draw there that would be good. Right, a Trinisphere, a Blood Moon, all those would play.
Yeah,
But this is the nicest
Yeah,
one.
this is the one. You get rub equity.
And he's going to make another. So second Chalice was the draw. Makes a second Chalice of the Void on 1.
That's strong.
That's strong, right? There's no other number. You don't want to like try to put it on 2 or anything.
No, so we saw a braid out of Arthur's, and there's a point where if you have Chalice on 2, that's going to end up locking out a braids as well. But it's going to take you more time to get up to that, and we see this Lotus Petal from Johnson.
He doesn't want to spend it. He wants to get that up to that 4 mana.
Exactly. So it's either him taking a turn off, or just going ahead and casting the Chalice now, since we know that when Johnson hits 4 mana, he's just going to cast Chandra and lose a mana source for
There
it.
isn't a braid in Marshall Arthur's hand, so good play there by Craig.
Oh yeah, very heads up stuff. There's a point where you can blank the only 2 you've seen, or
Well, buried alive for Marshall. He'll get the Phoenixes in the graveyard. Might as well start it there.
they don't have to resolve. Your 1-drops do not have to resolve to bring back your Phoenixes. So
Right,
next
you
turn,
have to
if
cast 3 spells.
Right, he just goes Ponder, Brainstorm, Dark Ritual. They all get countered, but they effectively turn into 3/2 birds.
Yeah, and there's nothing. I'm looking at Craig's deck. I suppose if he has boarded in his Ensnaring Bridge, they'll play here. But that would just get it by a braid.
Oh,
Another Chandra.
that would have been so
Nope.
good against a Thoughtseize.
And does Marshall, he's just going to throw 3 spells into the abyss?
All right, it's time.
Another,
Oh.
another bird. He only has 1 Phoenix left. Yep, that is exactly what he has.
It's likely he just doesn't have the 1-drops there. If he just doesn't have 3 1-mana spells in his deck, at this point
Yeah.
he goes, well, let's make it so I can't draw the Phoenix.
Both players just waiting. Now Craig hits Ancient Tomb, so it is time for Chandra Torch of Defiance. Plus, we'll exile the top card. It's another tomb. Can't play that one, so 2 damage upstairs. Marshall down to 14.
Both players lost 2 this turn. It was a fair turn. This whole exchange, very fair.
1 mana card for Marshall, yes or no? That's what we're looking for. Lotus Petal.
Close.
All right, well, this means he's got 3 of them if he's doing this. Preordain. Oh, no, Craig.
Oh, the Chalice check.
Craig, don't. Craig, you have Chalices in play. So what's happening here is you can cast 1 mana cards into Chalice of the Void. Craig, stop this one. There we go.
We got
There
it.
we go. There's number 2.
It's just fair.
And a braid is the 3rd one. It takes care of the Chrome Mox. Marshall was waiting on the 4th mana. That was the, it was
Right.
not the, so that'll do it. Brings back all 4 Arclight Phoenix. Now, because he used the Abrade, if Craig can find one of his Ensnaring Bridges, it's going to play really well here. And Marshall, out of respect for that, does take a break to attack down that Chandra and send 2 Phoenix upstairs.
yeah, at this point, you're kind of just check yourself a little bit and go, all right, I think I'm close to winning the game. Let's just close off the avenues that make me lose the game.
Craig down to 12, so actually it doesn't even cost a turn. He's got 1 draw. Can he find a bridge? I don't think he does. It was a
Okay.
red card.
Paying that Ancient Tomb actually ended up having a real cost.
Yeah, cost him a turn. He drew Simeon's Spirit Guide. That's not going to play.
He has a Chandra, which can kill an Arclight Phoenix, and then go to 1 the next turn.
It buys him a turn. It is his
Right.
play. And he'll exile the Simeon's Spirit Guide to do it. Go to 10, cast Chandra, -3, shoot down an Arclight Phoenix. That's exactly the play. He's at 10, and it's only 9 power on the other side of the board.
So at this point, if Johnson were to say draw an Ensnaring Bridge,
He can't cast it.
could roll up Chandra for mana if Arthur's
Marsh-
just goes
yeah.
upstairs. And then if Marshall doesn't go upstairs, then Craig can just tap the Ancient Tomb
Right.
for it.
Yeah, he doesn't get a redraw off the Chandra, though. So, yeah, Craig Going to lose the Chandra as Marshall attacks it, hits Craig down to 4, so it's 1 draw for Natural Ancient Tomb and Grim Lavamancer. There we go. Chalice of the Void checks it.
Gotta go for it.
And that's not going to be it. There's the handshake, and it is Grixis Phoenix with the win. 2-1 over Mono Red Prison. As we see here, it's, both going first. It just matters in these Ancient Tomb matchups. Craig not able to break serve, loses games 1 and 3.
Right, and there's even a point, the reason that we really see the Grixis Phoenix decks shine against these Mono Red Prison decks, which usually beat up on some of the more fair-ish